Have you heard of this crazy theory that there was this global civilization that was wiped out and erased from the history books only 150 years ago? Welcome to Tartaria.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud.
Tartaria was this empire, highly advanced. This empire existed in modern day Russia, but now historians stuff like, no, it didn't. Well, guess what? There's a document from the CIA.
This video is only hundreds of years old. We were so more advanced than what we think. History is a complete lie.
We're back with another one. We're diving into some of the strangest, weirdest videos on the web. Don't move a muscle. Let's dive straight in.
Lockdown has commenced.
The final transmission, we are going underground.
Have you heard of this crazy theory that there was this global civilization that was wiped out and erased from the history books only 150 years ago? Welcome to Tartaria. They say this civilization spread out from Central Asia and even into North America, leaving its traces behind. They built massive star forts and cities with ornate architecture, and they had free energy and other advanced technologies too. Some even say its people were giants. In the end, it's said that they were wiped out by a mudflood and that the world's fairs were used to cover up its existence. Anyway, if you want to hear more about it, I just did a whole episode on my show, the Archaeology podcast. What do you think?
Oh man, missing cities, giants, and mudfloods, and a whole land everyone's conveniently forgot about. Yep, I'm all ears, mate. Let's fall down this rabbit hole together.
The mudflood is actually a worldwide earthquake. An earthquake that was so powerful that it liquefied the soil and civilization sunk. Destruction all around the whole realm. Think about like the Roman ruins. The Roman ruins had to be dug up. They had to be excavated. Easter Island and like the Moai statues, there was a time where people thought they were just heads. And then it was very recently, people said, guess what? They have bodies. And in some cases, the bodies go 20 feet underground. So you go look around the Middle East, there's some gate in Iraq, ancient Babylon. The gate is like 25 feet tall, and it's literally buried under the ground in the 1850s. They had to dig it up. That is insane. I mean, that is insane. Like, Göbekli Tepe. I think they said they only excavated about 5% of this place. Again, 20-foot tall megaliths under the ground. So what the modern archaeology says, their best theory is somebody buried their own temple. What? Buried everything? Evenly. Like, it's literally completely under the ground. It's not like a pyramid where people could actually cover up stuff and then there would still be a mound. It's like even across the world. Who does that? No one. Never. Why? Then you go to modern cities. And I think this is when it gets the craziest, is there's stuff buried around modern cities. Evidence that basements are like halfway under the street.
Honestly, it's looking more and more like a flood or an earthquake that wiped things out. Because half-sunken buildings and doorways below ground level don't just happen by accident.
You want to understand more about Tartaria? That's good. That's real good. Alright, listen to this. So, the Tartarian Empire was an advanced civilization which once ruled in what we know today as Russia, but also span out to the Americas. But when the empire was destroyed, they was removed from history and wiped off the map. This is the official Tartarian flag. They are the ones that built buildings like this, and like this, and yes, buildings like this. And they were the ones that built the so-called Tesla Tower long before Nikola Tesla. They are known for building buildings with Antiquitech, which is a natural atmospheric energy conductor which produces free energy. And a lot of people ask, why would they remove this from history? Well, if you knew that in the past we had free energy, electricity, and advanced technology, it would make you question everything we've been told about his story. Oh my days.
A civilization bridging Russia to the US with free energy erased from the map. That's not history, that's a cover-up with a motive. The more I hear, the more suspicious it gets. There's no way the fat cats and the oil kings were letting that survive.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The Mudflood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. Do these look like temporary structures to you? The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question, were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits and then destroyed to hide their origin?
Honestly, I've always wondered why you see windows half buried at street level. I used to think it was just dodgy old building work, but clearly I was way off. Let's keep digging. This is getting interesting.
Oh my days. So you want to understand more about Tartaria and the last reset? That's good. That's real good. Alright, listen to this. The mystery that sparked the search. What intrigued the internet was a declassified document by the CIA which mentions the deletion of this country's history, which seems to have been located in the land of modern Russia, Siberia and Asia. And this is the official declassified CIA document. You can take a screenshot and read it for yourself, but I'ma start halfway down. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten, let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to eliminate reference to the Great Russian aggression and to hide the fact of the real cause of Tartar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians, on orders of the Communist Party, have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in good light. Needless to say, historians which present the facts truthfully have been withdrawn and destroyed so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning their true facts of their nation's past. Oh my diddy.
Oh my diddy. Just kidding. If this stuff is real, then the CIA didn't just hide history, they rewrote it. Madness. What else do they know? Goddamn CIA, they'll get you.
What if the greatest empire in human history is the one we were forced to forget? Maps from the 1600s, 1700s, and even the 1800s show a massive nation stretching across Eurasia, called Tartaria. Yet today, history books say it never existed. Architectural blueprints from Paris, St. Petersburg, Chicago, and Tokyo show the same impossible building style created long before modern cranes, concrete, or electricity. Grand domes, star-shaped cities visible only from the sky, copper spires and antenna-like towers designed to pull power from the atmosphere, a worldwide electrical grid without wires. And then, suddenly, it's all gone. In the late 1800s, firestorms swept through dozens of major cities at the same time. San Francisco, Chicago, Toronto, Boston. A global disaster with no clear cause. Followed immediately by world fairs, where hundreds of advanced buildings were constructed in just months, then mysteriously demolished right after. Almost like they weren't building new wonders, but displaying the last ruins of an old world before wiping it clean. So ask yourself, how does an empire appear on maps for centuries, leave behind architecture we still can't replicate, yet vanish from history overnight?
The maps are there. The history's literally carved into stone. And yet we've got structures that shouldn't be possible at the era they're from. Yet they exist. But somehow this kind of history ends up hidden or forbidden. You decide.
Tartaria was this empire, highly advanced. This empire existed in modern day Russia, but now historians stuff like, no, it didn't. Well, guess what? There's a document from the CIA about Soviet Russia and the impacts of communism with the changing and erasing of history. And they talk about Tartaria. It says, or let us take the matter of history, the core of a people's cultural heritage. For example, the Central Committee of the Communist Party issued a directive ordering the parties to proceed to the scientific revision of the history of Tartaria. Tartar history was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to hide the fact of the real course of the Tartar-Russian relations.
What does that all mean?
So basically,
it existed.
That just made me freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Native Americans and like how developed they were and like how they're connected to people groups from all over the world. But the Smithsonian's like, no, we're going to write history like this. They were isolated and dumb.
Yeah, it can't be vindicated because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So, it's officially documented. Amazing. Let's just casually rewrite history, Tartarian style. And the CIA wipes it from existence. Deleted. What's next? What timeline are we even on anymore? Is any of this real? Scary shit, my friends.
So they used to actually have devices where they could communicate with each other through these glass sphere objects, through the power of the ether. And bear in mind, this was in the 1800s. They had far more advanced technology than we do have now. And the buildings back this evidence up as well. They essentially had FaceTime in the 1800s through these devices. Not to mention, they could create free energy through the buildings and the shapes of these buildings, through those big antennas that you can see on the buildings that would harness atmospherical energy through metals like copper, mercury, specifically red mercury. So then you have to ask the question, where did all this technology go? And why did they remove this free energy technology? And you have to understand that they removed this technology because almost all of it utilized free energy from the ether as the fifth element. And the ether was available to everyone, as the ether is infinite and it was free. But the Rockefellers could not profit from the ether because free energy cannot have a profit to it. So then during World War I, all of these buildings alongside the ether were destroyed. And then all of the documents about the ether were completely fabricated. And that's exactly why you have the electricity you have today, because the profits are extremely high and they can actually sell it, unlike the ether.
Energy through building turrets? I can see that. But FaceTime in the 1800s? I'm struggling with that bit, mate. I'm certainly no Tartarian tech specialist, but if anyone knows otherwise, I'm all ears.
The people who were fighting, when they were fighting in these wars, they were fighting for these buildings. Like, these buildings have been around for such a long period of time, and different people would inhabit them or take them, and then the people around them would fight them for them. And it just blew my mind because I found these pictures of castles where they just have moats and all kinds of things around them. And now they don't have any of that. And I started thinking through each fight or war or whatever it was of these different people, then all of a sudden things kind of got broken down. But it really started to make me question everything. And then I found one book which kind of blew my mind, the Boys' Book of Airships. And they were explaining flight in 1783. But flight was not displayed until about 1901 with the World Fair. So it's made me start to realize that a lot of stuff goes back a lot farther. There's nothing new under the sun. And the more I would explore this topic and just kind of, you know, just pick one, like flight or materials, whatever, nothing added up. And I realized that because these buildings, when you walk into them, I went into a couple cathedrals in New York City. When you walk into them, they touch your soul. It's very hard to explain, but you get goosebumps and you can feel this building. And I found footage from that building from 1899.
Flights in the 1700s, an architecture miles ahead of its era. But somehow, Tartaria never made it to history class. Feels like someone wanted that chapter deleted. The real question is, why hide it?
I mean, there were castles and big, massive buildings in America before Columbus in 1492, and that whole story, before he even got here. So if there were already all these massive castles, massive buildings, and all these people, big people too, before 1492, then how did they have the technology while Christopher Columbus is coming over on his cute, Santa Maria or Pinta or whatever it was, the three ships that they used? And where are those ships? How come we don't see those ships? How come we don't see those today? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Wouldn't those be put in a museum? Wouldn't you put the three most important ships of America in a museum? We don't see those either. And that's the thing. There's so many parts that are missing in which we don't see, but then we see all this nonsense over here. What about the Egyptian-like artifacts found in the Grand Canyon? Yes, same exact thing. So you have Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon in Arizona. So were people?
I'm starting to think we're either living in a simulation or our entire history's been sabotaged, censored, or straight up deleted by whoever's running this cosmic Windows 95 update. Mate, the Matrix man is definitely up to something.
So apparently this castle, Prague Castle, was built in the year 880, which I can't even begin to work out how many hundreds of years before the first power tool that was. And this castle is 250 meters above sea level. So what I'm expected to believe is that the good people of Prague got all these materials 250 meters above sea level before electric motors even existed, so horse and cart, and then they did all this with hand and chisel. You've got to be taking the piss, mate.
250 meters above sea level with no cranes, no machinery, and no lorries. And we're meant to believe hand and chisels built all of that. Oh, yeah, okay, Barry with a hammer and Dave with a chisel making architectural perfection. At this point, I'm leaning towards wizards or whatever magic it was that built Prague Cathedral.
Did you know e-scooters existed over 100 years ago? They were known as auto-pets, and while most were petrol-powered, some did run off of electricity. Which is no surprise because they also had electric cars a century ago as well, which were a common sight in the early 1900s, when they even outsold gasoline-powered vehicles in some markets. Yet, it's treated as if electric cars are a relatively new technology. And the same goes for FaceTime calls, which, you guessed it, also go back almost a century. Did anyone learn about this in school? Because I didn't. This all seemed like stuff of the future a couple decades ago. Little did I know it had already existed before, and I only discovered that pneumatic trains were a thing in the 1800s, which ran off air pressure. We're just in an endless cycle of rediscovering ancient technology.
Air pressure trains and electric scooters and things that just shouldn't exist for like another century. Mate, I'm either getting cancelled after this episode or we're 100% living in the Matrix. My brain feels like it's microwave soup. If this footage is legit, don't take my word for it, go look yourself.
This video is only hundreds of years old. We were so more advanced than what we think. History is a complete lie. They are covering up something. This is definitely some sort of anti-gravity technology used by the ancient Tartarians. History is his story. These videos are not just it. There are pictures of the ancients using advanced technology that we do not even use to this day. Why are we not told about this? And why is this not in our history books? This looks like some sort of spirit technology to see the other side, or some sort of hologram technology. What do you think?
That looks absolutely bonkers. How is anyone flying that? There's no propulsion, no engine, it's essentially a magic carpet on wheels. Okay, I think we'll have to do an episode on free energy and ancient tech. Drop me a comment if you'd like to see that. I'm itching to dive in.
Well, have you heard the theory? It goes back to Tartaria, that the Great Wall of China, it's actually facing
the wrong way.
The holes that they would shoot arrows out of is facing towards China.
Yeah.
No way.
So
Yeah.
it's suspected that it could have possibly been Tartaria.
That's super strange. Speaking of the wall being built by someone else possibly, want to talk about the Chicago World Fair?
Yeah, they're saying the influence was Tartarian architecture.
Have you seen the pictures?
It looked like ancient Rome. They said that they
World
built
Fair.
it for the World Fair, but then after they just tore it all down. And it's like, that doesn't sound right.
It reminds me of that whole conspiracy theory that we just skipped all those years. They rewrote the year of history that it was, and so
So we actually are living in right now the
1500s.
We're
or
now,
something,
yeah.
right?
Now would be difficult because of the digital footprint that we have.
Yeah.
But it's like, it would be so easy just to convince people, yeah, this just didn't happen.
It's that whole Mandela effect thing.
The thing is, it's confirmed. Like, it literally existed. Like, and so
The World Fair blows my mind. I mean, they built entire buildings, full towns, advanced tech, electric paths for a global showcase. And then tore it all down like it was nothing. Poof, gone, erased from existence. Not seen Back to the Future? No? Okay. Carry on, next video please. And somehow these temporary towns had full electricity, I mean decades before they were supposed to have it. Yeah, we're 100% doing an episode on that. Stay tuned.
This is the Milan Cathedral in Italy, and allegedly it was built in the 1300s and supposedly took 600 years to do, with hammer and chisel, horse and cart, ropes and pulleys, and just brute strength to create this amazing, beautiful, perfectly symmetrical structure with no technology, no power tools. How did they complete this? How did they build this? And they just had masterful level stonemasonry skills and just excellent project management and transferring of responsibilities over 600 years. This cathedral is made out of marble, and they mined it 60 miles away and just hauled it with brute strength over to Milan and built it. How did they get the marble up there? How did they hoist it up? How did they hand chisel it to be perfect? And that door, what is this door? Look at that door. Look how big that door is. That door is built for a giant. Why would they build a door that big for regular people? Look at those people and look at that door. Oh, it's just for design. It's just for, aesthetics. Impractical. Where are the handles at? Look at this place, man. What is this place? This is not, this got converted into a church, but it wasn't originally built to be a church. Look at this. Y'all seeing this? I think this is Jesus right here. Okay. And these looks like angels around Jesus's body. Jesus on the cross over there. Maybe another depiction of Jesus.
I get this isn't all technically Tartaria, but I mean, it's all essentially the same copy and paste architectural genius that we're seeing popping up all over the world. And those huge doors, I mean, come on. Tell me giants aren't involved. I'm listening.
I was doing some research on the New York City subway stations. And it's interesting because they said that the subway stations were founded in 1904 and they opened in 1905. So they were found, that's what founded means. They were found in 1904 and they opened 1 year later. They didn't build them. They just took ownership of these tunnels that are deep underneath New York City. And it's interesting because when you look at all of these tunnels, you sit there and think, okay, you go up above on the street, you got horse and wagon and all this stuff roaming around, but you're building these massive tunnels cutting through the earth. Take a perfect example. Go outside, get a shovel, and see how far you can go in the earth, especially in a time around the 1900s where it's very challenging to do that. There's no construction photos. There's just like 4 people standing in front of a tunnel saying that we built it. You would think if you did the first subway ever that people are blown away that they could go in, you'd have photos galore. But you only have one photo of 4 people standing in front of a tunnel saying that you found it.
Sorry, but 1904, these underground tunnels that would need cranes and diggers that we haven't even invented yet. Make it make sense. If any history experts are watching, DM me immediately. My brain has officially clocked out.
They've been hiding this from us. The Great Wall of China. It's over 13,000 miles long. That's not a typo. 13,000 miles. To put it in perspective, America, coast to coast, is about 3,000 miles. You could stretch the US 4 times, add another 1,000 miles, and you're still not there. So ask yourself, how did ancient people over 2,000 years ago build something that long without modern machines? They started building it in 220 BC. That's before Jesus even walked the earth. And here's the wild part. It took over 1,000 years to complete. No kingdom, no emperor spends that kind of time and resources unless they're terrified of something. So what were they scared of? Now here's where things get weird. Look closely at the wall. The steep side with the lookout posts. It actually faces China, not the outside. That's right. The defensive side is aimed inward, which makes no sense, unless the wall wasn't built to keep enemies out, but to keep something inside. Some believe it wasn't built by the Chinese at all, but by the Tartarian Empire. If that's true, what were they trying to contain in ancient China? And why does no one ever talk about this?
Okay, a history lesson mixed with a terrifying question. The enemy holes on the Great Wall of China point inwards towards China. I always thought it was built to protect China, but clearly it was built to contain something. But what? Dragons? Kung Fu ninjas? Hiya! Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this one's melting my brain.
If you can see that. Look at that detail. And it's just remarkable when you start to look at the detail of these buildings. As I go through this book, there's a couple interesting things. Here is one. Look at this picture. These are people on a beach, right? And they have umbrellas, which is just weird. So let me just zoom in real close right there. They're on the beach and they have umbrellas and they're also wearing suits, which don't make any sense. And what's interesting about this picture is in this picture, if you can see all the way back there, see that boat? That huge boat? This is 1893, right? So we're in 1893. You got people on horse and wagon. They got dirt roads. You know, they're supposedly going around on their buggies and, you know, riding around on their buggy, farming and whatever nonsense that we've been told. And then you have ships that look like this. It doesn't seem to really fit the narrative, right?
These ships didn't exist until the early 1900s. I only checked because my brain refused to believe it. Anyone recognize where this book came from? Because I've got some merch with your name on it. Right, my brain's cooked and my timeline's broken. And Tartaria has officially taken over my weekend. If you enjoyed this madness, drop a like. Leave your theories in the comments. And let me know what rabbit hole you want to dive into next. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and I'll see you in the next one.